It's a matter of time before Jordan Henderson, once of Liverpool, now of Saudi club Al Ettifaq under Steven Gerrard, is going to say goodbye to Saudi Arabia and come back here to the Premier League. How likely is that going to happen in this window? Our Saudi correspondent Ben Jacobs joins us live this morning. Ben, good morning to you. Where are we at with Henderson and a return?
Good morning. There's two sides to this story. One is Henderson, who's away at the moment outside of Saudi Arabia, intimating he wants to leave. That is accurate to my understanding, only half a season into this big money move. And then the flip side is Al Ettifaq, and the Saudi club claim that they're planning long-term around Henderson, even though he's 33, and that they don't want to sell or loan in this window. A sale is difficult because the Saudi club don't have big budgets and they need to make a profit. And that's not just a profit on the transfer fee, it's on the wages, sign-on bonuses, relocation and so on. And Liverpool have got a sell-on clause as well, which means they'd be looking at 25 million plus to start making a profit. And I don't think anybody is going to bid that and present Henderson with a permanent route out. A loan is also not the preference for Al Ettifaq, and they haven't yet had any inquiries, but they might entertain it if there's 100% wage coverage. And part of that is because Henderson doesn't play again until the 15th of February and is maybe starting to sweat, therefore, about his Euro 2024 place.
So why do you suggest that they need to make a profit?
Because Al Ettifaq are not one of the big clubs. They're not owned by either PIF or Aramco. They tried to get Henderson on a free transfer. And I think there's a lot of bashing in Saudi about attendances, about infrastructure. Yeah. And that may be fair. But the flip side is this is actually quite a small club in Dammam. And they'll be the second biggest club in Dammam in terms of infrastructure in a few years when Al Qadsiya, where Robbie Fowler previously managed, come through into the Saudi Pro League, get promotion, build a new stadium and so on. So 12 million fee, 8 million is the number that the Saudis claim is the wage. Of course, that's tax-free. So you can say it equates in English terms to a bit more relocation. And why wouldn't you want to make a profit if it doesn't work out?
I understand that, but it doesn't seem the metrics of Saudi football at this moment in time is predicated upon profit. Are you saying, I just picked up there, are you saying that he's on £160,000 a week? Is that what you're saying his salary is?
The Saudi side, and I suppose we should put some scrutiny on this, maintain 700k a week is incorrect, but 8 million is the number. But obviously he pockets all of that 8 million if it becomes tax-free. So you could equate that to more by
but so the idea that the idea's been flashed around in the Western media of him being on £700,000 a week and getting the taxable benefits of being in Saudi if he's there for 2 years is just nonsense. So going to your point, he's on £8 million a year. He's on a £12 million transfer fee. If they sold him for £5 million and took him off their books, they'd be saving something like 15 million in wages, wouldn't they?
They'd be saving the money, but I think their logic is more, regardless the ministry who don't mind losing money, the club itself are so tight from a budgetary point of view. To give you an example, they would hypothetically try for Firmino, but they can't afford those wages. So yes, to your point, they could get Henderson off their books. Maybe it frees up a little bit to bring in another player. But I think they're looking more at the fact that they need to, if it doesn't work out over such a short period of time, make something financially and basically get all of their money back. And that's why in a permanent transfer, the valuation of Henderson would be in excess of 20 million. And that factors in the fact that a small amount of the profit goes to Liverpool as well because of the sell-on clause.
It's interesting, Ben. The impression I get here is that Henderson might end up having to suck it up because it's not that easy getting out of there, having gone in there in the first place.
I think you're right. I think there's a bullishness about Al Ettifaq because they're quite offended by this notion he's unhappy, and you'd expect them to lean more towards the maybe it's Euro 2024 related because they're never going to admit they know he's unhappy in Saudi Arabia. But speaking to sources at the club, they feel like there's enough evidence that he is happy in Saudi Arabia. His family's living in Bahrain. It's only a 15-minute drive across the border. It's a little bit more Western. The wider family can drink and socialize, a bit more akin to Western culture. So the next step is this. Henderson's away and Al Ettifaq are clear. Henderson must return to Saudi Arabia in the build-up to this next game in mid-February. He must tell them face-to-face he wants to leave. If he fails to do that and offers start coming, Ettifaq intimate they'll reject everything. If Henderson tells the Ettifaq board face-to-face when he returns that he would like to leave, then a loan could become a possibility, but only with 100% wage coverage.
Okay, so if he comes back in February and tells them face-to-face that he wants to leave, How's that going to help anybody when the transfer window closes at the end of January?
Well, he doesn't come back in February. He comes back in a week in the build-up to that game. And then I think they have a sort of mid-season camp. So I think he'll be back in mid-January. So there'll be 2 weeks to resolve it.
Any other news coming out of possible returns with other players who have gone out there? I'm talking about Diogo Jota being one. And there are others, of course. There have been rumblings of maybe potential returns, Ben.
Firmino's the most interesting one because different situation to Jordan Henderson in the sense it's actually Al Ahly who would like him to go, which is a bit of a surprise, only on loan. And there is some Premier League interest, so that's one to watch. Jota won't go to Spurs, to my understanding. We constantly hear he's going to leave. There's obviously a new manager in Gallardo compared to Nuno. So the dynamic may change slightly, but I think that one's a possibility as well. There's German and Italian interest, and also the possibility of a loan to Turkey in addition, maybe to the Premier League. But I don't think Premier League clubs are front of queue. I know some people will say, why not just send him back to Celtic? Not beyond the realms of possibility, but all three, Henderson, Jota and Firmino, could potentially be exits under the right terms in January.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. That was our look at the latest transfer updates with Ben Jacobs, of course, TalkSport Saudi correspondent.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.